I still can't decide what hurt more, the gut-wrenching betrayal, the outright lies, or the sheer, almost comedic irony that I found them behind a stack of half-empty paint cans in my own damn basement. Just 10 minutes earlier, I'd been humming a totally uninspired tune in the kitchen, convinced I was the luckiest guy alive. You know the drill. Decent job, a wife who felt like my other half, a perfectly quiet, predictable suburban life. Then my trusty wrench went missing. I headed downstairs, and the floorboards under the workbench just sounded hollow. A faint, almost imperceptible echo that would shatter everything I thought I knew. Honestly, if you'd asked me that very morning, I would have told you marriage was easy. Not in a complacent way, but in that comfortable, worn-in slipper kind of easy. Rachel and I, we were a classic story. Met in college, navigated the chaotic 20s, finally tied the knot at 25. We poured our savings and weekends into this little fixer-upper, arguing good-naturedly over the merits of subway tile versus herringbone, and sanding floors until our hands ached. We had our quirks, our inside jokes, her inability to parallel park, my habit of chewing cereal a little too loud. Nothing grand, nothing flashy. But it felt bulletproof. It was our fortress, built on shared laughter and silent understanding. We even had this running tradition, a sacred ritual. Every Friday night, without fail, we grilled burgers, settled in for a gloriously bad sci-fi movie, and rated the special effects like we were paid critics for a niche online blog. It was our thing, our tiny rebellion against the weak. That Tuesday had been perfectly normal, indistinguishable from 1,000 others. A quick kiss at the door, a mumbled, "love you," and she was off to her shift at the clinic. I worked from home as usual, tapping away at my keyboard, until the persistent drip, drip, drip of the kitchen faucet finally broke my concentration. Annoying. I reached for the wrench I always kept on the pegboard, right there, next to the hammer. And it was gone. Just utterly, inexplicably vanished. My first thought, naturally, was to tear through the garage. That's where things usually migrate, right? Then the junk drawer, a classic husband detective move, full of loose screws, dead batteries, and the occasional forgotten gift card. No luck. My frustration simmered, a low, familiar burn. There was only one place left, the last resort. The basement. And man, I hate that basement. It's got that low ceiling that makes you feel perpetually hunched. One pathetic light bulb that flickers like a prop in a horror movie. And the permanent, cloying smell of damp concrete and forgotten things. It's a dungeon, frankly. But alas, tools live down there. So, with a that felt heavier than it should, I grabbed my phone for a flashlight, ducked under the cold, sweating pipes, and started scanning the dusty shelves. That's when I spotted them. The paint cans. They'd always been stacked neatly, almost militarily, against the far wall. Now, though, they were 2 feet out, sitting there like someone had deliberately dragged them forward. My first, utterly rational thought was, great, we've got mice with superpowers now. Because what else could it be? I nudged them aside, intending to slide them back into place. And that's when I felt it. The board underneath wiggled. It wasn't solid. My heart gave a little skip, not of fear, but of pure, dumb curiosity. One firm tug and it popped up, revealing a small plastic shoebox wedged perfectly between the joists. It was hidden, concealed, tucked away with an almost professional precision. The air suddenly felt thick. heavy with unspoken questions. I wish I could tell you some primal instinct, some protective sixth sense screamed, "Don't open it, you idiot." I wish I'd hesitated, even for a second. But I didn't. My hand, almost of its own accord, reached down, pulled out the shoebox, and flipped the lid. The contents lay exposed, stark and undeniable. A stack of Polaroids, their edges slightly curled, a burner phone, and a tiny black spiral notebook. My gaze landed on the top photo first. It was Rachel, undeniably, in our bed. Only, it wasn't me beside her. It was a man I'd never seen, his arm draped possessively around her. Second photo. Same guy, different angle. A smirk on his face that made my stomach clench. Before I could even process the images, the burner phone, lying innocently amongst the damning evidence, lit up. It buzzed, a low, insistent vibration against the plastic. A text message flashed across the screen, a gut punch delivered by glowing pixels. "Can't wait to see you again. Thinking of you." The sender's name was saved simply as M. My eyes, wide and unblinking, then darted to the little black notebook. It was a meticulous record, a chillingly organized schedule of betrayal. Dates, times, hotel names, even a bizarre, almost clinical star rating system next to each entry. My hands, suddenly foreign and clumsy, shook so violently I dropped the phone. It hit the damp concrete floor with a sickening crack, the screen spiderwebbing across the evidence, a jagged, star-shaped scar. I sat there, a hollow shell of a man, on the cold, unforgiving floor, staring blankly at the humming furnace. Every ounce of oxygen felt like it had been sucked from the room. 10 years of unwavering trust, a decade of shared dreams and quiet moments, disintegrated into a fine, bitter dust in exactly 45 seconds. The world tilted on its axis, and I was left clinging to nothing but the smell of damp concrete and the acrid tang of betrayal. My first instinct, a primal urge, was to scream, to smash everything, to rage. But then a strange, cold clarity washed over me. I took a deep, shuddering breath and meticulously put everything back exactly how I'd found it. The Polaroids, the phone, the notebook, all nestled back into the shoebox. I carefully replaced the shoebox between the joists, nailed the board back down with a precision I didn't know I possessed, and then restacked the paint cans. It was an act of pure, unadulterated self-preservation. I needed time. I needed to think. Confront her now, in the heat of the moment, and she'd spin a story, delete texts, deny everything until she was blue in the face. This wasn't about a fight. This was about truth. About undeniable proof. So I walked upstairs, my legs feeling like lead, poured myself a glass of water, and then sat in the living room, staring at the clock for 3 agonizing hours. Each tick echoed in the silence, a relentless countdown to her return. It sounds crazy, I know, to just sit there, simmering, but I had to strategize. When Rachel finally came home, humming a cheerful tune, her keys jingling, she kissed my cheek and asked about my day. I tasted metal in my throat, a bitter tang of deception and suppressed rage. "Fine, honey," I managed, the words feeling foreign on my tongue. She headed to the shower and I followed, quiet as a cat stalking its prey. While the water ran, masking my movements, I slipped the burner phone from its hiding place, replaced it with an old, deactivated phone I'd kept in a drawer, just a decoy. Let her think the evidence was still down there, untouched. I spent the night on the couch, eyes wide open, replaying every late shift, every girls' weekend, Every time she came home smiling with her hair a little different, her eyes a little too bright. The pieces, once scattered and meaningless, were now snapping into a terrifyingly coherent picture. The next morning I called in sick. My voice sounded oddly normal, a testament to the strange calm that had settled over me. There was no way I could work, no way I could pretend. Instead, I drove straight to the public library, a place I hadn't visited since college, and found a quiet computer terminal. I created a fake profile on the hotel booking site listed in her notes, using a pseudonym and a burner email. Bingo. It was almost too easy. Past reservations, all under her maiden name, paid for with a credit card I didn't even know we had. A separate life, meticulously funded and organized. I printed everything, page after page, stuffing the damning stack into a manila folder. Then, I swung by a local print shop, the kind that does large format posters, and asked them to enlarge the Polaroids. Seeing their faces, his smirk, her casual embrace, blown up to 8 by 10, made it realer, nastier, somehow more grotesque. The casual intimacy, now magnified, burned into my retina. I even checked the mileage on her car. 47,000 miles. For a 6-mile commute to the clinic? That was almost impossible. Every mile was a lie, every journey a clandestine meeting, every turn of the wheel a further step away from me. By sunset, I had a dossier thick enough to make the FBI proud, a meticulously documented chronicle of her deceit. And still, I smiled at dinner. I passed the potatoes. I asked if she wanted salt. Acting normal while your ribs feel like they're cracking from the inside, while your heart is a raw, exposed nerve. That's a skill I never, ever wanted to learn. It's a performance worthy of an Oscar, played out in the most intimate of settings. Friday came, a cruel twist of fate that our sacred burger and bad movie night was the chosen stage. The air crackled with unspoken tension, though she seemed oblivious, humming as she helped me set the patio table. I grilled the patties, their sizzle a stark contrast to the icy dread in my gut. I poured 2 beers, the clink of the bottles unnaturally loud. When she sat down, a picture of domestic bliss, I slid the manila folder across the table. Her brow furrowed, a slight, curious smile playing on her lips. "What's this?" she asked, a light, innocent laugh escaping her. I met her gaze, my own eyes probably as cold and dead as I felt inside. "Your travel scrapbook," I replied, my voice shockingly calm, devoid of any inflection. The color drained from her face as she opened it. The smile vanished, replaced by a mask of dawning horror. She saw the enlarged photos, the hotel printouts, the meticulous dates. She tried, "It's not what you think," but the words died halfway out, a pathetic, strangled whisper. I didn't yell. I didn't raise my voice. I spoke low, every word deliberate, cutting through the silence. "Who is he, Rachel?" Silence. A long, suffocating pause. I pressed on. "Do you love him?" More silence. Her eyes darted away, unable to meet mine. "Does he know you're married?" Her shoulders slumped, a silent confession. Then, the final, brutal blow. I pulled the burner phone from my pocket, the one she thought was still safely hidden, dialed the last incoming number and put it on speaker. 3 rings. Then a man's voice, cheerful, utterly oblivious, answered. "Hey babe, miss me?" Rachel burst into. a ragged, guttural sob that tore through the evening air. There was no yelling from me, no histrionics, just the sickening sizzle of the grill, the distant, oblivious barking of a neighbor's dog, and the sound of my wife's world, and ours, collapsing. 10 years of shared life ended right there, to the smell of charcoal and cheap beer, the taste of ashes in my mouth.
She moved out that weekend.
It was a blur of cardboard boxes and strained silence. I methodically packed her belongings, each item a relic of a life that was now a lie, and left them neatly on the porch. Then, with a grim satisfaction, I changed the locks, the final definitive click echoing through the suddenly cavernous house. Our mutual friends, those who had been a part of our shared tapestry, split like a divorce referendum. Some were genuinely shocked, their disbelief palpable. Others, though, came forward, their voices hushed, suddenly confessing, "We always thought something was off, but we didn't want to say anything." It was a fresh sting, a reminder of how blind I'd been. My mom, bless her heart, called and asked if I wanted to pray about it. I told her honestly, "Mom, I want to burn the mattress." And that's exactly what I did, a symbolic, fiery cleansing. Safely, of course, in the backyard fire pit, with a neighbor who happens to be a firefighter supervising, just in case my grief-fueled pyromania got out of hand. The flames consumed the synthetic fabric, sending plumes of black smoke into the night sky. It smelled synthetic and bitter, exactly like the inside of my head felt. People keep telling me, with well-meaning but ultimately hollow words, "You'll bounce back. Time heals all wounds." Maybe. Right now I sleep on the couch because the bed, our bed, feels like a crime scene, tainted and cold. I even threw out the wrench, the one that started it all. Couldn't look at it without tasting damp concrete and the corrosive bitterness of betrayal. It was just a tool, but it became the catalyst for an irreversible change, a constant, unwanted reminder.
Look, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. This whole ordeal, this catastrophic implosion of my life, taught me some brutal, undeniable truths. First, and perhaps most painfully, trust is not a renewable resource. Once you pull that plug, once that fundamental belief in another person is shattered, it doesn't just replenish itself. It drains fast, leaving an empty, echoing void. You can try to patch it, sure, but the cracks are always there, a constant reminder of the breach. Second, I learned that cheaters often hide in plain sight, not in dark alleys, but behind the very routines they use to cover their tracks. The predictable schedule, the familiar habits, the normal behavior. It all becomes a sophisticated camouflage. They leverage your assumptions, your comfort, your trust against you. It's a twisted kind of genius, really. Third, my gut wasn't broken. It was screaming at me for months, maybe even years, with subtle nudges. Tiny red flags I chose to ignore. I just overrode it, chose to silence that intuitive voice, all in the name of preserving an illusion of peace. Never again. Listen to that whisper, because sometimes it's shouting truths you're too afraid to hear. Most important, though, is this. The discovery method matters. When you stumble upon the truth by accident, like I did, it feels like an ambush. It doesn't just hurt in the present. It forces you to reevaluate every single past moment, cataloging every memory for hidden clues, searching for the precise point where the lie began. It makes you question your entire history, turning cherished memories into potential evidence of deceit. It's an exhausting, soul-crushing exercise. Therapy helps, absolutely, in processing the trauma. But so does talking about it, sharing the ugly truth, like I'm doing right now. If you're watching this because you're suspicious, because that little voice in your head won't shut up, here's the only advice I trust. The only thing that gave me any leverage. Collect evidence before you confront. Feelings are dismissible, easily spun into accusations of paranoia. Screenshots, hotel receipts, mileage logs, those aren't. They're facts. They're undeniable. They give you power in a situation where you feel utterly powerless. If this story hit close to home, if you felt that hollow echo in your own life, drop a comment below. No judgment, just your raw, honest thoughts. What would you have done with that shoebox? Smash it? Stash it? Lawyer up right then and there? Share your perspective. And if you want more real stories that aren't sugar-coated fluff, then do me a favor. Like this video and hit that subscribe button. And hey, if you ever need a wrench, mine's gone. Consider buying two, because you truly never know what you'll find when you go looking for a simple tool. I went downstairs looking for metal, for a simple household implement. And instead, I found out my entire life was hollow, built on a foundation of lies. The basement floor is patched now, new boards in place, fresh paint covering the old stains. The house looks normal, put back together. But the foundation, my personal foundation, it's different. It's stronger, because I know exactly what's underneath now. I understand the hidden spaces, the potential for cracks. Some nights I still hear that buzzing phone, a phantom vibration in the quiet darkness. It's an echo, a memory, a scar. And I'm learning to live with it, to acknowledge it, and to keep moving forward.